And we are live. I'm going to check the page to see if everyone else can see us. All right, it shows that we're live. I don't see the live yet, but I got the circle there. All right. So I'm Alicia.
Hi, I'm Janae.
And thanks for joining us on Conversations on Health, Happiness, and Hope. I thought we could start with some trivia. So um, feel free to put it in the comments. But Janae, when do you think that we started hanging lights outside to decorate in the US and Canada? Like what years?
Huh. Like for the holidays?
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, I want to say it's before 1950. So, that's a good question. In the
That
40s.
is a good guess.
So I'm thinking about A Christmas Story, and that takes place in the 50s. Um, so I'm thinking it would have to be before then. So maybe 1940, 1944. It's gonna.
That's a good guess. What I found online is that it started in 1960s for like private homes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's just when like most people started doing it, but that's a good point about the Christmas story.
Yeah. But now you say that, I don't remember if they had decorations on the outside of the house or if it was just the tree and then the
Mm-hmm.
lamp in the window. That's
Oh,
a good
that
one.
lamp. All right. Well, thanks for playing along. I can see that we are live on the page now.
Okay.
So I'm just checking to see if there are any comments. It keeps changing my view here. All right. I tagged my mom because she said she wanted to join us. So that's always nice. I don't see any comments yet. So next up, and again, I just kind of went through and saw like what websites said the most. So
Hmm.
some of them were like surveys of 2,700 people, but I typically stayed with U.S. and Canada just because I felt like that was what most people would identify with.
Okay.
So when do you think that most people in America and Canada start decorating for the holidays?
Like in general?
Toward the end of the year holidays.
Okay. Hmm. Well, I mean, I've seen people put decorations out like as soon as right after like Thanksgiving night. That's
Yeah,
what I've seen.
yeah, and that's been a typical of my family too when I was growing up. So in this survey, I don't know how the percentages work, so I just kept some of them because they did not equal like 100. So the YouGov survey said that 27% decorate before Thanksgiving, with
Okay.
25% being the day after Thanksgiving, and 24% being between Thanksgiving and December.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. That sounds about right. That sounds about right. That's a good one too.
Thanks. Yeah, I like trivia and like fun facts. um, so this one is one of my favorite topics: food.
Of course.
So, when it comes to sitting at the dinner table around Thanksgiving, what do you think people voted for as their most favorite side dish?
Mashed potatoes and gravy.
Nailed it.
Okay.
And that would be mine too. All right. And the least favorite, I think, is going to make you a little sad. What do you think that one is?
The least favorite, um,
Mhm.
salad or broccoli or something like that. I don't know.
No. So what was reported was cranberry sauce. And
Oh,
I thought
okay.
that might make you a little sad because of the wonderful recipe that you want to share.
Oh, well, I don't really like cranberry sauce,
Oh, okay.
surprisingly enough.
That is surprising.
So I can see that. Yes. I mean, I like cranberries and cranberry preserves, and then the dish I'm going to tell you about, I like my cranberries that way. But for some reason, cranberry sauce, I do not like.
Nice.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the texture. I don't
Yeah, so when I was a kid, the only kind that I saw was like the cranberry relish that my grandpa makes, which is
know. Hmm.
delicious. But as a kid, I want to eat it because texture wise. And then
Right.
like the cranberry stuff that comes out of the can that's kind of like all bumpy.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Um, but as an
Yeah.
adult, I had my mother in law's cranberries, and like, they start with just real cranberries, and it's
Yes.
so good.
Yes. Anything that starts with a real fruit or vegetable
Mm.
always usually comes out. Always usually. Always comes out really good. Um, I think just because even if it doesn't have like a very sweet or savory flavor, the flavor of the vegetable itself, if you like that vegetable or fruit, is the highlight of the dish. And so it always makes it really good. Yeah.
Hmm. Especially since you eat so clean anyway. Good habit. All right. Well, thanks for playing along. And whether you're watching live or in the replay, feel free to put your answers and guesses in the comments. And Janae, did you want to start us off with your recipe or any traditions that you wanted to share?
Okay, yeah. So I came up with this tradition that we do in mostly in the winter, well, fall and winter. So around fall, once it starts to cool off, um, I make this cranberry pie. And so it started right after my divorce, and I was just the children and I wanted to find a way to make this time of year special for them because it was going to be so very different than
Mm-hmm.
anything they had ever experienced before. And and I was also really getting into health and nutrition. And so I wanted to make them something that was sweet and fun, but then also just felt really good
Mm-hmm.
instead of like just something that was full of sugar. So I just made this up myself. And
Oh.
it is literally cranberries in pie crust and you put it in the oven. So
Mm-hmm.
what you do is you can either make yourself a crust, or you can get a pre-made crust. So you make it as easy as possible. And then I get about 2 bags of the whole cranberries, and I usually buy organic. And then I put that in a saucepan and put the heat on very low and just let it start to cook a little bit. Maybe put like a little bit of water in there and it'll start to reduce. Well, you just kind of mix it. And then I add in vanilla, um, organic vanilla extract, and also some lemon, or you can use lime just to. And then I do use some sugar. So I'll use organic light brown sugar and I'll put like a spoonful in there, mix it around, and then kind of taste it to see how it is. The idea is for it not to be super sugary, but the sugar kind of helps to um, undercut some of that tartness out of it,
Yeah.
especially. And then, of course, you can add as much vanilla extract. So, really, there's no like 2 teaspoons of this and 3 teaspoons of that. It literally is like you're making a concoction. You're just kind of mixing stuff, those 2 things to kind of
Mm-hmm.
get that flavor that you want. And then once it's very has that like liquidy, and there's also still some whole cranberries in there, but a lot of them will have popped by that point. Then you turn off the stove and let it cool just for a little bit. And then you want to scoop it into your pie crust and then put it in the oven. And
Mm.
so, and then just, by that point, really, it's mostly just done. You're just letting it kind of sit and heat up. And I usually put it at about 275 just to make sure it doesn't get too hot. And just waiting for it to get just a little crusty around the outside and on the top. And then when I pull it out, I will dress it up with a little confectioner sugar. My son does not like whipped cream, but my daughter does. So I'll give her that like on the side.
Mhm.
And then it's just with this literally just cranberries in a pie crust, but it's really good and it's homemade. And so it always tastes better than it actually, how do I say that? It always tastes really good, even if it doesn't. I don't know how to
Oh,
explain it. Just
so
because you made it, and it's like
uh-huh.
it's your up to your taste. Like you've made it the way you've liked it, and it always tastes really good and it feels really special.
Mhm.
So I will make that. Like I'll make that this week. I'll make it in December, and I'll make it again in January.
Oh, wow.
Just whenever those like those cold, like really cold days, just to like bring some fun and some lightness into it. And then the kids
Mhm.
can help, they help to mix it and everything. And so that is something that we do every year. Um, and I want to say every season. So it starts like around November and that season goes for us until maybe the beginning of February. So,
Wow. That's
yeah,
really nice.
yeah. So that's one. And yeah, so now I'll pop it back to you and I'll give you my other one after you do yours.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing. So that was pie crust, cranberries, vanilla,
Mhm,
which surprised me. I love vanilla extract. So,
mhm,
um, and then sugar,
mhm.
and then you top it off with confectionate sugar, or
Yes, yeah, just a little powdered sugar
cool
or
whip
whipped
or
cream.
whipped
Yeah.
cream.
And
Okay.
you can throw nutmeg in there too if you want to, if you want another
Mhm.
little. So it really is just the highlight is the cranberries,
Mhm.
And then it's always fun as they start to pop. They make that like sound. And so it's
Yeah.
just really, yeah, it's really cool.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing that. I think my grandpa puts like orange zest in his
Ooh, nice.
cranberries, so yeah, might be an
That would
interesting
be really
addition for
pretty
you.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Anetta has joined us, and she said, "Hi,
Oh,
gorgeous ladies." So thanks for watching and joining us, Anetta. Um, so one of my family traditions, and I'm not sure if a lot of people did this or not, because you know how so many people are like snowbirds and they go south for the winter. Well, my paternal grandparents were the snowbirds. So Thanksgiving to us always meant that we celebrated Christmas. So we had both. So we would have the tree up, we would have this amazing turkey dinner with the mashed potatoes and gravy, of course, the cranberries, the rolls. Um, and when my great grandma was alive, we would eat in like the formal dining room. And I just always thought this was so cool because it was
yeah.
this really big table with red velvet curtains that my grandma picked out and like a gold crackle mirror. And when my great grandma passed away, we didn't eat in that dining room anymore. But that's just something that, I cherish and I remember. And then it was always about, okay, presents, presents, let's finish food and open presents as soon as possible. Because, when you're a child, that's what's most important to you. But as I was getting older, like in my teen years, it was like, okay, this food's amazing. I want to savor this food, have the conversation with family. And then it became about like the games, playing Michigan Tripoli together, which is like Michigan Rummy, where like you have a poker and also like a sequence
Mhm.
um, for cards. And then like grandpa would make snacks for us, like crackers and cheese, sometimes have like venison, and just always feeding us, and grandma always
Right.
playing games with us. And that was one of our traditions that I always really enjoyed. And then I would um, get get postcards and letters from them when they were in Florida or New Mexico, so or Arizona.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet. I like that. I like that you made it about being together as family when you could be together.
Hmm.
So nobody was missing out on anything. I
Yeah.
really think that. Yeah. It's always good seeing grandparents. I mean, I still love my grandparents even though they're gone now. But yeah, um, I, that was always a highlight of any time of year for us is when they were coming to visit or when we were going to visit them. So,
Hmm.
and they lived in New York, so a couple of times we did get to see snow, during the winter time, which was really nice, because we lived in Florida, so there was no
Yeah.
snow. And it didn't really get cold. I mean, you have some cooler days, in the fall, but not really nothing to write home about when you get to go visit somebody who has snow.
Yeah. Do you get snow in Tennessee occasionally?
We do. We usually get one snow every year at least. Usually around between it can be anywhere between January and March. Um, and then every few years we get like a heavy one, like a really good, you know, well for us, maybe six
Yeah.
inches or something like that. Yeah, which is really nice. Um, but we get a lot of ice storms. So we'll get a
Mm.
lot of weather where it's wet and rainy and then it freezes. And I remember once we were closed down for like a week when I still worked in Nashville. We couldn't go anywhere because the ice was so thick. You couldn't get out onto the road. You couldn't get out of your community. So, I mean,
Mhm.
people were just walking everywhere anytime you had to go somewhere. So, yeah,
Yeah, that could be dangerous. So
yeah,
thankfully they were walking.
yeah. I mean, people would still go out in their cars and we'd be sitting there watching from when I lived in the apartment and just they're like sliding down the road. I'm like, why? Why are you doing this?
Mhm. Yeah, it scares me when it gets icy and snowy on the roads.
Yeah.
So thankful I have so many opportunities to do things at home through the internet.
Yeah. So, is it my turn again?
Yeah, share your
Okay.
other tradition or
All
another
right.
recipe.
So, well, this one is food again. Sorry, but
Hey,
um,
we love food.
this time of year, I love to do different types of soups. So, like butternut squash and pumpkin soup and things like that. So, I will make a soup and then we will hollow out a pumpkin and
Mhm.
then we will pour it into the pumpkin and make those our little bowls.
Oh.
Um, and then we also will do that just with like instead of having like you'll have like beef stew with potatoes. So I'll make like a
Mhm.
beef stew and then I'll put it in a hollowed out little pumpkin or acorn squash or butternut squash and eat it as a meal in that bowl and you can eat the meat out of the squash or the pumpkin as your starch. So we love doing that because it's always just, it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And then, yeah, so I'll get you to do one more. I'll stop.
No need to stop. I like how you get so creative with yours. Um,
Oh,
I've I've always been kind of like a picky eater. I eat so
mhm.
much more now though. Gotta pick on for my mom for a moment. She's definitely more selective than I am when it comes to food. Love you, mom. But I think I've mentioned this a couple times now. I watch a lot of Queer Eye more than a makeover,
Mhm.
and one of the recipes that Anthony was making was butternut squash soup.
Mhm.
And I've never been a squash person, but I really like zucchini. I like zucchini chips and
Mhm.
zucchini boats and zucchini bread. My mom makes an amazing zucchini bread. And when he was making it and putting all of these like nutmeg and I can't remember the other stuff, but I was like, oh, that sounds delicious. And like, I
Right.
want to try this now. And then you just mentioned that. I'm like, okay, this is affirming. I need to try butternut squash and see if my maturing taste buds like it.
I think you will. I like it. I mean, my kids, I mean, they'll eat it, but they're not. I have to do a lot of doctoring it up just, for them to,
Yeah.
But I mean, I like it. I think it's a very comforting autumn soup. And there was one, I have not made it, but I found it one time in like the organic section of like a Publix or a Kroger, and it was butternut squash soup, but it also had apple
Oh.
and cinnamon. And that was, they love that one. I've never been able to find it again. So I might have to mess around with that myself. Maybe put some apples through a food processor or something and see if I can mix that up and see what that kind of tastes like. Cinnamon apple and yeah.
Oh, yes. If you
Yeah.
do that, I will be kindly requesting the recipe because I
Oh,
love anything with apple and cinnamon.
oh, good. That's good to know.
Yeah. My So I have a lot of favorite desserts, but when it comes to November, December holidays, my absolute favorite is my mom's Dutch apple pie. And just like the amazing crumble on top and all of like the cinnamon and nutmeg and clove and all of the goodies that are in there, just like it is so good, and I always look forward to it. So my brother was always a pumpkin pie guy,
Yeah.
and I'm always like, give me the Dutch apple, and now I'm like, one of each please.
One of these, yes. Yep. I love them both. I love a good apple pie. Apples are like one of my favorite things to eat in general. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, apple pie. I love apple pie. I don't know why I've never made an apple pie.
That is so odd to me.
Like I didn't think, oh, I'm gonna make an apple pie. But no, but I make cranberry. Maybe because it was just easier. So, yeah, I've never done that before. But I have been doing more, like making things more at home. So I've learned to make bread, and I've made those big pretzels.
Mhm.
I've made those big soft pretzels, and I've made rolls. So I've learned to make a few things at home. So I'm getting a little bit more confident in my skills. So um, maybe I can try doing an apple pie. Maybe we'll see.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm glad you're getting more confident with that because I think you should be like the most confident when it comes to that stuff, just building your own chicken coop and getting your gardens going and making your food from your gardens. I mean, that's amazing.
Oh, thank you. But I like to cook.
Mm,
Um, and so that part just kind of comes, I guess maybe naturally, but baking is it's a whole different thing.
yeah.
Baking for me. Yeah, it's like you almost have to be exact,
Hmm.
with your measurements, and then like even things like the order in which you mix things makes a difference. It really is chemistry, baking really is like chemistry. So, um it's always really daunting to me because then I'll get distracted, my ADHD, and then I'll forget what I did. And so, yeah.
That's funny. It's kind of the opposite for me. So I used to get my time in the kitchen solely from baking.
Hmm,
Um, so I used to bake too much, and now I'm gonna have to tell Chris, "Hey, Janae says I'm a chemist."
that's right.
But I know what you mean. Sometimes you have to like mix the dry ingredients and then mix the wet ingredients
Right.
separately and things like that. So yeah, it does change it.
Yeah.
This is really wiggling today. I'm sorry for people who are just watching my
No,
camera bounce
I keep
today.
doing mine too. I don't know why.
I know I
We're
haven't done that.
sharing that wiggly energy.
Apparently, we giggle and wiggle.
So, what's another tradition that you practice? I guess that's the right word for it.
Yeah. Um, I'm I'm not sure if I have many more for Thanksgiving. My hubby doesn't like it when I talk about him too much, but he was born on
Okay.
Thanksgiving, and this year it falls on Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So, during COVID, when we couldn't go to either of our families for Thanksgiving, I asked his mom, my mother-in-law, how to make her pumpkin pie because that's his
Oh,
favorite. He's
yeah.
never wanted a birthday cake, only her pumpkin pie. And I asked my mom for tips on how to make a roast. And then I asked my mother in law again for tips on how to make cranberries. So we had our own very small Thanksgiving for two over COVID with my
Mhm.
first pumpkin pie and my first roast.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's so nice. Yes. I'm
Yeah,
sure he really enjoyed that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and his birthday, of course.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I have more for Christmas, but I don't know if we want to talk about that maybe in December.
Maybe,
Um,
yeah, that's fine.
yeah.
Yeah. And and I'm so with us, what we do is more of a acknowledgement of the season itself of fall and winter. Um, just, and I'm trying to figure out how to do this for spring and summer as well. Because I
Mhm.
love to decorate, and it makes me feel good to change out decorations in the
Yeah.
house and around the house. And of course, I didn't do any real decorating last year, and this year we'll see what happens with the new house. It's hard. There's a whole lot of stuff that needs to be done. So I'm
Clean
trying to
slate.
figure out, yeah, how to make it more about acknowledging this time of year being the end of the year and all the stuff that we've gone through that's gotten us to this point. And then also with it being winter, it can be a little dreary, with all the leaves off the tree and just trying to make it as positive and uplifting time, even though it's also a time of relaxation and rest. It's supposed to be a time of really
Yeah.
relaxation and rest before the spring comes. So yeah, so I'm open to ideas, and I'm still thinking about ways and how to do that where it's just for us more of an acknowledgement of the season of fall and winter.
Yeah. And that's one of those things where it's not consistent, especially here in Michigan. We've been having mornings where it's 30 degrees and then
Mhm.
afternoons where it's 50 to 60 degrees.
Same.
So you can sort of have both seasons in one day. Um, so yeah, I would be interested to see how you do that. Knowing how much you like to be outside in nature, I could
Mhm.
see you doing something like marking the season by like taking pictures outside in like the same locations maybe
Oh,
on
that's a
different
nice idea.
days. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that way you're getting like family pictures at the same time.
Mhm. I like
So
that idea.
maybe that's a nice start for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I'm glad that you brought this up about traditions because it really just kind of made me it was something that was kind of on my mind anyway
Hmm.
about, how to create a tradition for us, for our family, that felt right, for us and that help us bond. And let's see if I can find it. You were looking up trivia and I looked up mental health benefits to having traditions because sometimes people think,
Oh.
oh, it's not a big deal.
Hmm.
Um, but it says that having a tradition helps us feel like we belong in this world when we've come from somewhere else. So, especially like if you've had a big move or a big life change. Um, and then it says it helps us to fit in um, when we've always been in the same place. And then it provides a sense of belonging for any who may feel like an outsider. So
Oh,
even like if you're introducing someone into the family, it's in and getting them to, or into your friend group, bringing them into the tradition, bringing them into the tradition as well, helps them feel like they belong and that they're acknowledged and that they're wanted. And so I thought, oh, okay, well that's why it's been on my mind because
yeah.
we've moved and even though, we have a beautiful, wonderful community here, you, I still do feel like we feel a little bit out of place, because
Hmm.
it's so different than what we been used to. So having traditions, even if, for people out there who don't celebrate the holidays,
Mhm.
I felt like making it just about the seasons itself, which are very natural. The seasons are there; they don't go anywhere. Um, is an important thing to have that kind of family connection. And then for those who don't have children,
Mhm.
connection with your spouse or your partner or your friend group, those things are important too. Like, oh, every year at this time we go have hard apple ciders at Mickey's bar, whatever it is, just something that kind of brings that community and socialization into it. Yeah.
I love that. Beautiful and wholesome. And yeah, being outside in your new place or home in your new place and celebrating those seasons. I think that's definitely a nice way of belonging and fitting in. When you were talking about that of the traditions, the seasons, and whether you have family or connecting with your spouses or friends, it made me think. Well, we did do a friendsgiving once, and I used to go to um, this place that did stuff for like Halloween, autumn. Um, I'm having some trouble thinking of it, but we'd have like cinnamon apples and hot apple cider, which now I like the cold cider better. I think it tastes better. But when you're outside,
It's
that's
a
really
warmth,
good
yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Or doing a bonfire or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Always loved that. And the smell, it's so good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And then let's see, what else do we do? Well, I'll save that for December.
Okay, sounds
Because
good.
that is definitely a December thing.
Yeah. Um, so I thought because we're in the season of thanks and gratitude, that we could share some gratitude with each other, and maybe for those who are watching, can put what they're thankful for in the comments.
Do you want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay.
It
Well,
changes all the time.
I am I'm definitely grateful for my children, for my family, for our home, um, and then also for the community that we have that surrounds us. I'm
Yeah.
grateful for you us connecting this way, which is really important to me. You've always been a special friend of mine, even though we've never met in person.
Yeah.
This is how we interact. You've always been a very special friend to me, since we were in that first writing group together. So
Likewise.
there's a there's a lot I'm grateful for. I think I feel very blessed by my higher power. My life is not perfect in any way, but I can look at places where I have been, 4 or 5 years ago, and I don't think I could have imagined that I would be here now. And that's only because of his hand in my life. So yeah.
Very sweet. Oh, I think your children are lucky to be growing up with such a kind, compassionate, nurturing mom who can teach them so much.
Thank you.
No, of course, you're welcome. And I feel the same about our friendship and the way we get to do this together. And it's kind of funny because we might go like the whole time without talking to each other until we're like, hey, what do you think about our next episode? And then it's like, we just come here and it's natural and it's easy. Um, but yeah, hopefully we can make sure that we talk more often, but we know how things happen. Well, I'm thankful definitely for my family as well. The holidays can always be a difficult time with divorced families, in-laws that live out of state, and feeling the absences of our loved ones,
Mhm.
but it's still nice that we come together and we're there for each other. And if we can't be there physically, we give each other a call or send a text. Um, I'm thankful that I'm learning more about what I'm going through health wise, and that I'm well connected to providers and a support group, and that people are trying to be understanding of the challenges that I'm having, and that hopefully some sort of treatment beyond what I've already had will be helpful and get us going in the right direction just to feel more myself each day. Um, and I'm really grateful that Chris and I decided to do RC drift RC drift cars on the tracks, because it's brought us together more as a couple, something that we do together, and we've met a lot of new friends um, at the track. So, yeah, I could go on and on, but those were the things that came to mind first. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I looked into that RC drift track stuff, and it's very interesting. And I
Mhm.
think my son would really like it. It's a
Yeah.
little bit pricey. So it's something that you have to be like
Yeah,
dedicated to do.
for sure.
But there is actually a track here in Centerville. So, which is
Oh,
cool.
good.
So I have not we haven't gone yet, but I did get him a couple of different RC cars and trucks to see which one he liked better. And I realized if I'm gonna get him a really good one, I gotta get him a really good one. I can't. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yeah, all the
Mm,
places we've been to so far, they've just been so personable and really helpful. It's just been an awesome community.
awesome. Yeah, I'm so
Mhm.
glad. Yeah, I think that is I admire that about you and Chris, actually, that you guys continue to do things to bring yourselves together, and even him dressing up with you, and you know you guys
Yeah.
are the best cosplayers ever. So
Oh, thank you.
it's always very inspiring to see you guys. So yeah.
Well, thank you. Um, yeah, I used to go to the Renaissance Festival with like my dad and my brother a lot as a kid, and I'm always like, oh, I want to dress up. I want to dress up. So, like my college years is when I started getting like stuff from Goodwill and Charlotte
Mhm.
Russe deeply like discounted, and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
can make an outfit, and like it's
right.
just fun to go on from there. So I went from the only one dressing up to like having whole groups dressing up. So that's a
That's
lot of
great.
fun.
That's great. Yes. Yep. So hmm,
Yeah, and he made all this stuff, so that was really
that's
impressive.
awesome.
Yeah, like he bought like the weaponry, the shield, the necklace, but like he
Mhm.
cut up the coat and dyed it and sewed the fur, and like made his bracers out of paracord. So it was
Oh, that's
very
great.
cool. I would love to do things like that, and I'm hoping that I will someday.
No, I just buy my costumes. My cosplays, my daughter's like, they're not costumes, they're cosplays. I'm like, okay, fine.
Well, we'll have to see some of yours someday then.
I
No.
don't have any, nothing worth sharing. So, although
um,
it is giving me an idea for an episode next year, but I'll tell you
yeah.
about it offline. So
All
it can be a
right. I'm
surprise for
gonna see
everybody
it.
if it's feasible.
It was feasible. All right. Well, I really like that. I've had some ideas in mind too that I've been wanting to to talk about too. So that would be
Yeah.
good to get together on. Um, is there anything else that you want to share, or anything that's coming to mind that feels
Um,
right for today?
the only thing I would say, since we were addressing the audience about, being thankful, and you mentioned this time of year can be hard for people,
Mm-hmm.
regardless, and I find that to be true, regardless of whether you are a person who celebrates the holidays or a person who doesn't celebrate the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
But because of just the time, it's the end of the year, so much has happened. You're getting ready for a new year. It's winter. It's a time of change.
Mm-hmm.
Um, find something that you can rally around that makes this time of year good for you. Whatever that is. Whatever that is healthy. Always have to make that disclaimer. Um, any, if it's just, you spend the day calling your friends and saying hi. It doesn't have to be Thanksgiving. It could just be sometime in these next 2 months, you want to connect with people and just try to keep that connection. Because I think a lot of times we forget that we don't need a holiday to reach out to people. You don't need, a special day of the year to tell someone that you love them.
Mm-hmm.
But because this time of year can be hard for people, it is a good time to make that kind of an intentional thing. So, however you can do that to reach out to other people and to create your own tradition, I would encourage that.
That was really moving.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that that definitely made me think of something where I wish I would have done that more. Um, like I always associated my great aunt and my family that I saw over there with Easter and Christmas. Like I didn't really see them much outside of that. And it only occurred to me when my great aunt was getting really ill that, oh, I could have been coming over here all this time. It didn't have to be, a holiday. And it's just one of those things you didn't think about because, you were always being taken there by your family when you were a child. Um,
Right.
so, yeah, that is a really great reminder.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Um, Thank you so much for watching, whether you're live with us or you are watching the replay. Definitely hope you have lovely, happy holidays and great season. Um, like Janae said, no matter whether you're celebrating or not, or if you're feeling a loss or just wanting to be cozy and staying warm in the colder seasons. And I hope you stay inspired.
And do something that makes you stronger every day.
Thanks. Take care.